Ancient technologies, cars and trucks, right? Ancient transportations, or basically stuff like wagons. I say cars and trucks, but I mean cars and wagons, but you get the idea. Pretty much creating a platform that has wheels, turning something into a platform, as it were. Because pretty much you put wheels on anything, it's mobile, right? So you make things mobile. So being able to make blocks of stone into something mobile, so you can move it around, as opposed to putting it on something that already can move around. But you can obviously use something that can be moved around, which is the point I'm trying to make, which is creating something like a wagon or a skateboard or whatever you want to call it, or car, truck, whatever, or a wheeled platform or mobile platform, whatever you want to call it, to help you move things around, right? Wagons. So in these images, some of these are some old wooden, wagons that were found. Some of these other images are more modern stuff. Like this one right here, obviously it's more modern. You just see metal in there. Up over here, this one is pretty much just essentially like all wood. But it was the idea that even in ancient Egypt, a place that has a lot of sand, it had chariots. So they knew the concept of a wheel. Over here, you see a circular stone wheel, right? It looks like what they did was they took a wall that had hieroglyphs on it, right? And they cut it down. They shaped it into a circle, right? Into a wheel shape. Created a square in the middle, put a block of wood in there, and then drilled a hole in there. And now they have a wheel. And what they use it for, it's hard to say. I mean, that does look like a pimped out stone wheel with the hieroglyphs on it and stuff like that. So that would have been pretty cool on some type of chariot or platform where they sit on their throne and whatnot, that have their servants push them or something, right? So they could have used it for that. Or because this is stone, it's strong, it can handle a lot of weight. It could be used to obviously create, like I said, like a wagon, like you see in the top left. Top left. And you can obviously put blocks on there and then push this wagon and push it to where you need to go to. Push cart, I think, is the best way to put it, because we use that at work. We have push carts. Basically, it's just basically a skateboard with a handlebar that you push and pull, right? So push cart. So they could have had ancient push carts or wagons or trucks, flatbeds, whatever you want. But the car idea, car implies that it has some type of power source. So it's we'll get to that soon. But I want to show that here in the tomb of Tutankhamun, what is it? Something like that. I think it was Tutankhamun. Anyway, as you can see, there's wheels there, and then there's the chariots, and then you see how there's an axle right there where the wheels were obviously attached to it. It's a way they can move around, and of course, they'll attach it to like horses, camels, or something like that, or to a human being pulling them, whatever. Right, so they're in the desert, but why do they have wheels? Right? These wheels, as you can see, they're pretty wooden. You can see there's some deterioration on them, so clearly these were used. So a lot of used stuff there, or maybe termites got to them or something, right? But they definitely look. They look wooden. It'd be epic if they were actually made of stone. There's like, ooh, stone wheels. Either way, wood or stone wheels. Either way, they do what they do, because we know these things over here, these animal shaped beds. So that's what these are, like beds. They're being used like tables, but they're beds. Those are carved with wood and stuff. But anyway, wheels. So ancient Egyptian had wheels. I remember somebody arguing with me about like ancient Egyptians didn't have wheels, and part of the argument was, well, desert sand. It's like, not every place, had sand. The Giza Plateau, from what I heard, is a big giant platform made of stone. So you can use wheels on a big stone platform, right? And they probably had roads and stuff like that. They're probably, all those roads are probably underground. I mean, under the desert now, but at that time they weren't. So that's the point. Is at some point wheels were useful. That's why they had wheeled chariots, because at some point the wheels were useful. And if I'm right, inside, just even inside a lot of the temples, and they're stone floors, so the chariots can move around there. Anyway, the point is they knew about the wheel. Ancient humans knew about the wheel. That's why you got these old wooden wagons and whatnots. And right here, there's a depiction drawing that I was able to find of an idea I've had, which was the idea of creating to put two wheels on like an axle, big wheels on axles, and then put like some type of pulley system, like some type of hoist, as they call it, a hoist system, to lift up blocks a couple inches off the ground. You don't need to lift them up that high, just a couple inches off the ground, and then pull the axle, right? And you have wheels on it, and then now you can roll the blocks to wherever you want. So this is a decent illustration of that concept, using some animals to some bull power or horsepower, right, to help you move from point A to point B. Right? The idea is just to work smarter, not harder. So being able to use wheels, especially big wheels that you can easily make out of wood and what. And as you can see over here, you can make wheels out of wood, right? And it wouldn't be that hard to get like a big tree, cut it into slices, and it already be circular, it already be round, right? Now you can just drill a hole through it and make wheels, which would be easier than stone wheels. Obviously, stone wheels require more more advanced tools, but it wouldn't be that hard to make wheels out of wood, which is the point. You can do that. So, alright, so let's move on to something kind of cool. The idea of powering it. I made a video before about talking about power sources, using water and sand and air and stuff like that to make things move. So this is a nice little self-contained engine here. I'll play this video without sound, so copyright, right? As you can see, water was turning the water wheel, right? That's the point. And then it's now I don't know the full setup here. Hopefully the person, I get most of the concept, but for some reason I don't see where. Let's see if it shows it. Yeah, yes, go around. Hold on. Something's missing. There it is. That's what I was looking for. Cool. Okay. So I think I see it. Because one of them is like the water wheel didn't look like it was attached to anything, so it kind of looked like it wasn't turning anything, but it technically is on the left side. So on the other side, there's like a gear there, and that gear is turning something. Ideally, let's go back. It's turning the pump, right? It's turning the pump, because this right here in the middle should be the water pump, which will pump the water out from the bottom of the water wheel, because there's like a container to grab the water, right? To catch the water, right? And then pump it back with the water pump, back to the top of the mechanism, right? Pump it out of that tank down there, right back up to the top, and drop the water and keep that engine going, right? Keep that system. So You got a water, recyclable water, renewable water pump system there. So you recycle that, and then the idea is to transfer all the spinning, right, all the movement, into use, right, and transfer it to something. And that's what you got over here. You got these wheels over here. You got this timing belt on the wheel. So you got a belt that's attached to something, whatever it is. It could be a blade. It could be wheels on a vehicle, right? What's nice about this is that this has a wheel and this has a platform. So this is portable, and ancient Egyptians could have used this to power tools, right? Tools where, they can set it up, connect this to it, use this by dropping water, right, to power and to move something. So this, obviously there's metal in here and stuff, but this can be made of just wood, rope, stone. You can make wooden pipes. You can make like water hose out of leaves and stuff. Like I got a couple concepts. I'll have to make some videos on how to make like hoses and stuff like that to be able to connect, to be able to use for water in the air. So water hose, air hose, whatever you want to call it, or piping. Be able to make piping out of stone or out of wood. So I'll make a video about that eventually. But right now you get the concept of like dropping water on a water wheel, right? And it'll spin, and then you just gotta connect it to other wheels that spin, and have those wheels spinning and spinning and spinning other stuff and spin other stuff. And the idea is to create a lot of RPM, especially if you're going to use it for cutting or drilling. So the fact that a water wheel can be used, even if this is a recyclable water wheel, you could just make it simple where you can have somebody just pour the water from a bucket, right, or a jar or whatever onto the water wheel to spin it, and it'll fall onto another jar under it, so it can catch it, right? So you have a jar to catch the water that you're dropping onto the water wheel, right? And then the water wheel will spin and move and operate certain machinery like drills or whatever, so you could drill into granite and whatnot, right? And then all you have to do is pick up the jar on the bottom that's full of water now, grab that, and then put the empty jar on the bottom of it, then start that process all over again, right? So while one person is doing that, they're the one that's doing the water wheel part of the system, right? The other person will be the one controlling the tool that they're using to drill holes and cut and do whatever they need to do with granite, right? So this would be the system here, and work smarter, not harder. And this is something that is feasible to do, not impossible to do. Like I said, with wood, stone, right? Rope. And rope, can be made from plants and stuff like that. And pipes, like I said, pipes can be made from wood and leaves and other plant material. Because I was like, you can make you ever know about the Chinese finger? When I make that video, Chinese finger trap will be part of that video. Because you can use a plant to create the Chinese finger trap, and that's essentially if you make it waterproof, it's a water hose, right? So that's one of the many different ways you can do it. But moving on, let's go into a car. Right? I did say car, trucks, and wagon, right? So here you saw some wagon stuff. You saw a water-powered engine, but let's look at something that looks somewhat like a vehicle powered by water. So obviously it's not made of stone and whatnot. There's plastic and wood, but you get the idea. Just replace all the plastic with wood, and the concept pretty much is the same. Of course, you have a container up here with a nozzle. You have a makeshift water wheel. This thing has 3 wheels on it, right? He's going to pour water. He's making sure the water doesn't shoot down. He made it blue so that we can easily see it. And now it's alright, so it's the flywheel. The water wheel is being activated. And now it's moving, yay! And it keeps on moving because the water keeps hitting it. Obviously, you want to make it where it catches the water and then recycle it. So ideally, you want to make a better system than that. But this at least, shows the concept, which was the idea, just to show that, if you create a platform, right, put some wheels on it, and then have a water wheel attached to at least the rear axle of the of the platform, right, of the wagon, whatever you want to call it, and then run water onto the water wheel, so the water wheel will turn, in turn turning the wheels. Then you can, obviously get motion. Now, to get the most power and torque and all that good stuff out of it, that's where a flywheel will come in. That's where certain gear ratios will come in. So you have to set up some gears, which wouldn't be that hard to make, out of wood or stone and whatnot. Pulley system, right? You want to do some multiplier type stuff. So you get that idea. But it wouldn't be impossible to create a mechanical or a water-powered vehicle, right? Further proving this is that there was a time, when Ford Ford company who made the Model T. Let me look that up real quick. The Model T, there was a time where his was gas powered, but people had electric versions of the Model T, right? People had electric cars. So there's the Model T. As you can see, it's not too, it's basically those tires are essentially bike tires, and that's essentially a chariot. It's on a frame, right? This would have been pulled by a horse, but they decided to put wheels and put an engine and whatnot. And then start putting a body on it, make it more fancy, start putting an enclosure, and start becoming more and more of what we know to be a car. But essentially, it's just a wheeled platform with some mechanical method to move. A fancy bicycle, four-wheel bicycle, essentially. And then there's the electric car. Put past, let's see if that'll pop up. Okay, so here's an image. She's charging hers. That's the idea, is that that's a charger, portable charger. She's able to charge that. And those other more advanced versions over time, especially, the hippie days and whatnot, some electric cars. There was some solar power ones, and the list goes on. And then, of course, there's rocket power. The point is that, the idea of electric cars is nothing new. It's not like Tesla company is the first one to do electric cars. Electric cars was a thing. As soon as electric motor was a thing, the concept of an electric car is a thing. Like, here's the early days. Cars into evolution. What's even up? But like I said, you can use water. If I'm right, there was a steam power car before it. This goes on. There's air power vehicles. I mean, some people do air power cars now. I mean, there's even some air power toys. Type of air power car. And apparently, this is compressed air power vehicle right there. Obviously, most of this is modern, but you see the toy one over here. It's actually a video, so you can actually see it in action. Let's see, gears, gears, wheels, compressed air, moving this gear. See, the air comes in here, spinning that gear, because more likely there's like a like a water wheel type thing here that spins, or a turbine type thing, spins these gears. See, low gear, make the big gear spin, and boom. So, not rocket science. That's the whole point. Like, it's more about material. Like, why don't we see, ancient water power cars and blah blah blah? Well, most of the material that could be used for it would be, wooden. And if it's not taken good care of, it would deteriorate over time. Like an example would be, look at these wooden wagons. This is not what it looked like when it originally was being used. This is from years of being deteriorating. You know, most of it survived because it probably was buried under mud or something, so it didn't completely deteriorate. And this is probably fossilized, so it's more rock than wood. Now, of course, here in the Pharaoh's tomb thing, because it's kind of sheltered from the weather, from the environment, these lasted longer, and these are probably wooden. These are probably wooden wheels, and they're still here. They didn't completely deteriorate because remember, wood is organic, so it would go back into nature eventually, right? But if you prevent it from, having any real interactions with nature, right, with outside environment, then its ability to stay longer is higher, right? And there's like probably metal stuff in there that also hasn't deteriorated and whatnot, because again, it was kept from outside influence. Of course, it lasted longer. So when you protect something, of course it'll last long. It'll still be here if you protect it on purpose. If you don't protect it, well, the likelihood of it surviving is very slim. It's like how these wagons here almost didn't survive. As you see, they're deteriorating. But fortunately, they survived long enough for us to know that, yeah, these wooden wagons did exist. But just logically, you can think that they exist. We didn't need proof that they exist for the possibility of them existing. But it's nice to have the proof, right? Evidence. Theory and evidence combined is awesome, right? So have a theory and then try to find the evidence to support the theory, which is what we're supposed to be doing, especially in subreddit, right? Theory, then some evidence. We don't need a lot of evidence, just some evidence to at least give some validity, or at least to, give the idea of like, hey, this could be possible. See, possibility is better than certainty of no possibility, right? So I'm just trying to, you can still believe like, no, they didn't have anything similar to what we have. They didn't have nothing with power. They didn't have power tools and this, that, there. You could believe that, but there's people who are doing things left and right that prove otherwise. Like, for example, there's this guy. It's almost an hour-long video. I'm definitely interested in watching what else he did. But as you can see here, turn off the audio. So you look, here's a grinding wheel. So that's what he said. So he's using what a wheel. So look, he's moving it even by hand. So look, he's grinding. Well, he's lathing. And this is when he was building it. But obviously he can use this because he's using it like a flywheel right now, which is nice. You see how he's putting